Oh yeah, it's legacy time. I should be back to my normal schedules now, pretty consistently now that the holidays are over. I'm looking forward to this. This this stream is going to be interesting because it's a donation deck list, but it's one that I've changed a lot. So I don't exactly know where this is going to go. All right. So, morning, folks. My name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes. Today, we're going to be playing a donation deck list. So, I kind of want to start by showing the original deck list, well, version 2 of the deck list that was submitted, and then show where I ended up. So, user Ari Wild sent me a deck list that was kind of based around Winter Orb, Howling Mine, and Ghirapur Aether Grid. The idea being that you use Aether Grid to tap down your Howling Mines and your Winter Orbs, and then they work for you or your. They essentially turn them into one-sided effects. So Winter Orb says as long as it's untapped, players can't untap more than one land during their untap steps. So the idea being at your opponent's end step, you tap your Winter Orb so that you can untap your lands, but your opponents don't. Similarly, Howling Mine, if you tap it during your turn, your opponent doesn't get to draw a card. So it's just like 2 mana one-sided, you draw a card every turn. The original deck list I got, though, didn't really have very many win conditions. So if you look at this, there's 2 Walking Ballistas, 3 Aether Grids, and 2 Karns. Because, DAC isn't really going to be a win condition. So I kind of think the original version just couldn't win games of Magic consistently. So let me move the rest of the sideboard over here a little bit. So this is what I ended up with after doing a little bit of brewing. I tried to stay faithful to sort of the core idea of the deck with Winter Orbs, Howling Mines, and Aether Grids, but I just kind of pumped up the numbers of win conditions. So I went and I maxed out on Karns and added a playset of the Antiquity Wars over some of the slower or maybe less useful cards that were there in the first place. So I kind of think conceptually this is going to play out sort of like a weird blue-red Antiquities War deck, ultimately. But, there's definitely some spice here. So I think we want to play against control and combo decks, and we kind of want to avoid fast aggro decks. Mid-range aggro decks with smaller creatures will be fine. Aether Grid can ping off idiots in decks like Death and Taxes or Delver pretty well. But, if we run into something that, slams turn 1 threat into turn 2 Tarmogoyf or something that's relatively big, we're going to have a hard time answering those with things other than just Ensnaring Bridge. So to help out with the creature-based matchups, in the sideboard I have Pyroclasms 3, whiteboarded for good measure, as well as a couple of Ensnaring Bridges. We have Sorceress Spyglass, essentially for Planeswalkers, because that's going to be a really problematic permanent type. We have Sabo's Web to hate on various land cards. This is a real gem. So when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and each land with an activated ability that isn't a mana ability doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So things like Wasteland, Rashadan Port, Karakas, Maze of Ith, and various other utility lands, your opponents aren't going to get a lot of utility out of them. I have Padim as an additional source of card advantage, and then I have a couple pairs of scissors here, just in case we need to close the game quicker because we run into something we're not favored against. So this is kind of a neat card. If you haven't played a lot of Modern, you probably haven't seen it. For 1 and a blue, you enchant an artifact, and you turn it into a 5/5 creature. So I don't know exactly where this stream is going to go. I'm prepared to have fun though. I have some worries. Like obviously, this is a deck list that I threw together based on a deck list that was maybe a little bit conceptually rough. I'm excited. I'm worried we have a little bit too much mana. So like I have 20 lands, I have 8 more mana sources here, plus 2 Izzet signets. I'm hoping that with like the card draw from Howling Mine Karn and the Antiquity Wars, I have like a decent ratio of like stuff that matters to mana. And that like me drawing cards is just going to allow me to play out more of this stuff that matters. That's kind of my biggest concern with the deck list as is. Other than like being a little soft to aggro. But like when I added the Antiquity Wars, more copies of Ensnaring Bridge in the main deck didn't really make sense anymore. So this is kind of where we're at. So just as a side note, as of tomorrow, I will have been streaming for 1 year, which is like kind of crazy to think about. So I'm in process of writing sort of a 1 year retrospective article that's going to talk about, some of my experiences with streaming in the past year, as well as some things that I'm going to be doing in the future and potential changes that I want to make to the stream. I got through maybe 3/4 of the article or so on Friday, and I'll try to finish up the rest of it on Monday and push it out. So, Ari Wilds, this one is for you. Let's kind of see how it goes. I really like Aether Grid as a card, and I haven't played with it in a long time. So let's see how this goes. I hope you all had great winter breaks or had a good whatever holiday you happen to celebrate at this time of the year. I ended up in both Kansas City and Illinois over my week at home. At home, kind of in quotation marks there, because I was visiting some family in Kansas City before going home to Illinois. So I don't have any acceleration, and because of that, I don't think this hand's keepable. Like a turn 3 Trinisphere as my first play is probably just too slow for Legacy. So I'm going to mulligan this one, try to do something a little bit more aggressive. This one I'll keep. I don't need another Mox Opal. So if on turn 2 I play a Signet, then on turn 3 I can play Antiquity Wars. Or actually, what happens if I just play the Signet this turn? If I play the Signet this turn, it uses up my Lotus Petal, and then I would need to hit like an artifact land in order to do that. I don't think my chances of doing that are all that great. So I'll just pass here. Although if I do draw the artifact land, then I can just play Antiquity Wars. Though I might wait a turn to like play around a daze. My opponent leads on some sort of island. I think my opponent plays Delver. I love a good, honest, artifact-based control deck. I'm going to have the luxury of searching up basics this game, so I will. Yeah, I don't know if people in chat have ever been wrecked by Sabo's web before, but that card is rough. Like, when it is played against you and it is good, it is just, like, brutally powerful. So for anyone not familiar with what my opponent is playing, I'm suspecting that they're blue-white Delver. So this is sort of somewhere between a Delver deck and a Stoneforge deck, like conceptually speaking. So they're going to have like Delvers, Snapcasters, Stoneforge True Name, Jace, 2 pieces of equipment, and then a whole bunch of cantrips and cheap permission. So expect like Daze, Spell Pierce, Force. Well, this Ensnaring Bridge is awesome. We're going to lead on the Antiquity Wars here because if my opponent has like a Force of Will, I'd rather this eat the Force of Will than the Ensnaring Bridge. Yeah, the deck's been called Delver Blade as well. So sort of the nice thing is that if the Antiquity Wars didn't get forced, my opponent probably just doesn't have a Force of Will, which means that this Ensnaring Bridge will resolve if I need it to resolve. But I can probably just, like, brute force kill my opponent with the Antiquity Wars. Well, Winter Orb is a spicy meatball here. So I can take Winter Orb, and then my opponent can't untap their lands. Can I play Winter Orb and Karn this turn? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potential mana, so I can. I can also, like, just Sorcerous Spyglass, put it on Stoneforge. So I guess what I need to think about is, like, will my Antiquity Wars beat through 3 creatures? Because my opponent can, like, put in Batterskull and then block 3 things. So if my opponent blocks 3 things, I'm really only getting in with 1 creature. So this Antiquity Wars might not end up being lethal. So if I'm not going to kill with the Antiquity Wars, then I probably just want to set up to go very long this game, and then kill my opponent with either my next Antiquity Wars or just with an Aether Grid. So keeping that in mind, I think I'm going to take Chalice of the Void. All right. So now the plan is find an ether grid and beat my opponent down. It might have been a misplay from my opponent to go and flip that Delver. Like, they've missed out on a point of damage this turn. Okay, so what happens? Well, I guess I can't attack, so that's irrelevant. So I'm going to play Karn. Karn will probably get forced, and then I can play Ether Grid. Karn does not get forced. Interesting. So just to explain what I'm doing in case it's not clear, I'm just going to Legend Rule my own Mox Opal here, give myself one more mana, so that I can play an Ether Grid around a Daze. So this is a game one. I don't think our opponent is going to have Council's Judgment in their main deck. So my opponent does have a Force of Will, so if they have a blue card, they will certainly pitch it. Otherwise, the game ends immediately. Well, they pitched their what is probably a one of Jace the Mind Sculptor, so I assume they are indeed on no outs. This is going to be a slow kill, though. All right, let's see if my opponent's last card is Force of Will. Nope. Alright, the game has ended. At this point, I'm just going to, like, Karn minus and make a construct. Yeah, our opponent has conceded the game. Ensnaring Bridge plus Aether Grid is a pretty hard lock. Alright, so we're playing as Blue-White Delver. I want the bridges. I want the Pyroclasms. Awkwardly, they don't clean up True Name Nemesis, which is probably going to be a problem card for me. Sorcerer Spyglass can stop, like, Stoneforge. It's maybe not the best. Howling Mine seems kind of medium. I don't know that I really want to be giving the Delver deck lots and lots and lots of cheap permission. So I'll probably go down on that. Yeah, like I have a lot of mana. Like I know Wasteland is a thing, but oh yeah. So they only do have like one Jace though. Like they probably have either one or two Jaces. Maybe I need to hedge against that and keep some in. Like I don't love Winter Orb here. Like I don't. More specifically, I don't love Winter Orb on the draw. On the play, it's probably fine. But like Delver decks are meant to operate on light amounts of mana. My artifact count is getting a touch low if I board like this, though. And like I pull 5 artifacts for like Pyroclasms. So I'm down 3 artifacts boarding like this. That might be fine. Maybe I should cut 1 Mox Opal and just play a Sabo's Web, just as something that cantrips. Or maybe I should just like keep a, or like board in 1 more Sorcerer Spyglass for Jace. Like it hits Jace, it hits Stoneforge, it can hit fetch lands. It's not exciting, but it's probably fine. Alright, so I can go land, Opal, Lotus Petal, try turn 1 Aether Grid. Alright. I'm down for that. It was top with Preordain. So if I play the Aether Grid, I can play around Days. If I just jam the Antiquity Wars, if I jam the Antiquity Wars and it works, that's so good. If I jam Aether Grid and it works, it's just fine. I don't know which one of these plays I want to make. Like, playing Grid plays around more things. But I kind of just want to jam. Like, early on in the game, this card is just so powerful. I accept that I will be super punished by days. Oh, just works. I will take a Sorcerer's Spyglass. Not the best card here, but it's fine. Like, I'm hoping to draw another cheap artifact so that I can just, like, play another artifact on my turn plus this artifact land, and then just be presenting lethal basically out of nowhere. Having Aether Grid to kind of clean up when everything's done. Ooh, Ensnaring Bridge. Well, if the game goes long, I will want this. So I'll go ahead and take it here. Ooh. So I'll get a land for sure here. I'll name Flooded Strand. I think my opponent's more likely to have multiple copies of that. So either Delver or Snapcaster Mage is likely to have to chump block. All right, there's a Spell Pierce. So of note, my opponent can double block one of these to kill it. They are 5/5s. Nope, just a chump. They'll go to 4. Um, I don't really think my opponent can go like both land and Jace. So I don't really need to play out my Delta. I'm just going to play out my Mountain. I kind of just want to hold this back in case I need to use it for like Fate Seal reasons later on. Agreed. Artifact lands are very ridiculous. I don't really know if my opponent should have played out that Flooded Strand. So, like, they revealed Brainstorm to a flip, so I know they have that. So this is something they could have shuffled away. So I'm going to play Aether Grid now, and I'll just, like, play that around the Spell Pierce that I know they have. Force, pitch the Spell Pierce. So they're low on gas now. I have Karn and Ensnaring Bridge in the hole. Don't know if I like some of my opponent's decisions this game. Yeah, I think you were supposed to... they might not have anything for 1 minute. They might not have a hard counter that actually could beat that Ensnaring Bridge, so maybe it doesn't matter doing it in response to my bridge. For example, when my opponent has a Brainstorm and like this Flooded Strand is shut off with Sorcerer's Spyglass, I don't think you play this land out. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So this turn here, I'm just going to go and create a construct with this. I don't really want to plus and give the Snapcaster Mage the opportunity to attack. I know this construct isn't really likely to attack, but I have like 2 different sources of card advantage right now, and I don't necessarily need both of those in play at the same time. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 possible mana, so I can play both of these. I just really can't end the turn with 3 cards in hand. So I think I'm going to go ahead, plus Karn, see what we get. Do I want to just jam the Antiquity Wars? Doing so costs me a decent amount of life. But I can beat out a Spell Pierce right now. Yeah, this is probably fine. Guess I'll just take the Signet. Yeah, so there's an Ensnaring Bridge with a silver counter on it. All right, there's an Aether Grid. That's how we win this game. So all we need to do is just beat a Force of Will. I think I'm actually going to take Chalice. So that can be the bait card here. Snapcaster Mage, sure. Snapcaster targeting force at will. See, you thought this was the spell that mattered. Little did you know. It was not. Aether Grid, too strong. Alright, maybe there's something to this idea. There we go. Just like that. Quick 1-0. Back in we go. So for anyone not familiar with some of the cards I'm playing, because I know there's a few oddballs in here, if you click on the card symbols on the left-hand side of the screen, that will pop out the Cardboard Live extension, and you can hover over any of the cards there to sort of see what they do. Clicking on them will make it even bigger. Cardboard Live is one of my sponsors. They're great. If you're a streamer, consider using it. It's made my life so much easier as a streamer. All right, chat. Any questions for me? Don't really have too many things queued up to talk about this morning. I woke up a little bit late. Still kind of shaking off the morning grog. Yeah, so Tybalt, at any time, you can click the Cardboard Live extension on the left-hand side of the screen to check it out. But just to like flash the whole thing visually real quick, we're focused around Aether Grid, the Antiquity Wars, and Karn as our engines. Yes, Vervandi, that is still in the queue. I'm gonna have to. I moved that around. That was supposed to be Saturday, or that was supposed to be Wednesday, but I had some real life stuff that I had to take care of on Wednesday, so that one is gonna get shifted around. I will post an updated schedule sometime soon. Do you know if the Cardboard Live extensions will ever work in the Windows client of Twitch? Is it Twitch's responsibility? I mean, I'm using Windows. I'm using like Chrome on Windows, and everything's fine. Or is there like another program specifically called Windows or something? I'm not sure that I understand what you're asking, Jadehem. Oh, there is a. So Cardboard Live should work on any Twitch supported app. There should be a puzzle piece icon you can click in order to enable it on the app. That's from my understanding. I haven't used the app myself. There should be essentially what that puzzle piece icon does is it enables your extensions on like mobile. So that might be what you need to do. So now I have to decide if I want to play around another wasteland or if I just want to play a Great Furnace to increase my artifact count to turn on Mox Opal sooner. I think I'll do that. Like, if my opponent just wastelands me again, it's not actually all that scary, right? Like, I still have 2 more lands plus Mox Opal as mana, plus a lot of mana sources to draw to. I am still undecided about GP Easter. Like, that's... It's poor timing, and it's relatively far away. Like, it's far enough that it would either be, like, a miserable drive, or I have to fly. So I haven't settled on my thoughts. Oh, 220 is not bad. That's totally reasonable. Yeah, if I were any closer, I don't think there would be any question. I'd probably go. But like the combination of it being relatively far plus like it just being on a rough weekend, it might keep me from going. I don't know. Like I just saw the announcement a little while ago. A braid on Great Furnace. Okay. Don't exactly know what my opponent is playing. The main deck of a braid might just be a bit of spice. Regardless, I think this Trinisphere is probably going to be nuts against this opponent. It's going to be like a Gurmag. Okay. That falls into the camp of moderately annoying, but I probably don't care about it. Like if I resolve Trinisphere into Antiquity Wars, like I'll just end the game before my opponent can clock me with that Gurmag. I don't know that it's going to be like Grixis Control, since we saw Daze. Like, this might be like a Grixis Pyromancer deck. That's my current guess. My guess is that my opponent has like a Force of Will that they left 3 mana up for. It's the worst if my opponent has like a Culligan's Command and they just like K command my Trinisphere. Actually, if they have K command, they might need to save it for this bridge. Thought Scour. Alright, so it's like Turbo Gurmag Grixis Pyromancer? A Braid would be weird for a Phoenix deck, though. I think I'm just going to take the land here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. If I cast Karn and Karn resolves, I can just like minus and chump if my opponent comes in. Or just take it and be presenting lethal. Regardless, I think I want to Karn and make a token rather than bridge this turn because I'm pretty close to just killing my opponent. Well, they already showed us in a Braid this game as well. All right. I mean, not much I can do about double lightning bolt there. It's kind of unfortunate. So I definitely want ensnaring bridge. I'm going to presume that I want Pyroclasm as well. Like there's probably either Delver or Pyromancers in here that I probably want to get rid of. So I'll probably go for these as well. And I'll probably do what I did last time where I board out the Howling Mines and Winter Orbs. Although Sorcerer's Spyglass might be relatively bad. Like this time around, it's probably just hitting fetches. Although my opponent might have like some Liliana Last Hopes in the sideboard that might come in that could be annoying. But that's really slow. Excuse me. I think I'm going to play Sabo's Web just as a cantrip. And then keep one Sorcerer's Spyglass in. Sabo's Web is fun. So I think I needed a couple more generic sit-on-the-board artifacts for matchups where, like Delver, where like the Winter Orbs and Howling Mines might be a little bit too risky. because like I'd really like to have a few more 2-mana artifacts that I could be playing out here, but I just don't have them. I don't exactly know what those are, because something like, say, Thorn of Amethyst would work against too much of my deck. Alright, we'll try Chalice on turn 1. I'm in for this plan. So our opponent did show us a Braid, so it's not like this is like 100% lights out. It's probably quite good. But it is definitely too early to celebrate, especially since a lot of the rest of my hand here is kind of clunky. A Wasteland, for example, would be pretty rough. There we go. We're going to play a redundant copy of this to play around like one Abrade effect. See, I think you think this card is good against me, but I'm playing this card too. I'm fine with this game right now. Let's draw some artifact mana and then like ignore the ever-loving crap out of this card, eh? So I could just play Trinisphere. But I think I'd rather just jam Karn and make them have an answer to it. I don't know, maybe like if I play Trinisphere, like Trinisphere plus Winter Orb just slows them down into glacial territory. So if I play Karn and they counter it, they might like Daze, return this, and get some mana back. If I play Trinisphere, it makes my artifact mana noticeably worse. Let's start jamming things. Oh, it just works. If I Karn minus Bolt, a Bolt beats it. So I think I'm fine with just Karn plussing this turn. A Mox Opal. Well, that's perfect. That's exactly the sort of thing I'm looking for. I might just minus and take that Mox Opal next turn. Very good in the face of Winter Orb. Give a Jace. You have a Gurmag. That's fine. I have an Ensnaring Bridge, and I can make a lot of tokens. So I can Karn minus, get this Opal, play the Opal, get Opal, play a spell. If the spell resolves, I kind of just want to jam Trinisphere. If I jam Trinisphere and like my opponent doesn't have Force or Daze, then Karn takes over the game. If the Trinisphere does resolve, the game probably just ends. Let's try Trinisphere. This shuts off my, like, Mox Opal line, but I think that's okay. So I'm hoping to just aggro my opponent out this game. Like, the Antiquity Wars, or Karn, or both, should make that pretty easy. So, of note, my opponent can't cast literally anything right now due to the Trinisphere. So, this is a relatively safe attack. If my opponent has something like an Abrade or a Culligan's Command to, like, blow up this construct and kill the Karn, like, I'm still ahead on clock. Plus, I have a lot of sweet cards in the hole. I was just about to talk about this. I do think I made a misstep on my last turn. I think I should have untapped Island so that if my opponent drew exactly Wasteland, I would not particularly care about them wastelanding me. So if I just play out an artifact, I have my opponent on a 2-turn clock. And I think that's very good. Because, like, I attack my opponent for 6 now, they get to untap 1 land, and I think they're just, like, 100% dead. Yeah, they'd have to, like, chump block with Gurmag. Yeah, they'll chump block with Gurmag, and then I can, like, slam an Antiquity Wars or an Aether Grid or something. So let's take this opportunity to cast a Mox Opal, sort of get get ahead on the mana war a little bit. Take that to a 6/6. Crash on in. So now they need to spike a land in order to play a spell. And they did not. And we just get there. I don't think anything really changes if I'm on the draw. I do kind of wonder how many Abrades my opponent has. They saw them relatively quickly in both Game 1 and Game 2 there. That might mean I'm looking at multiple of them. I have 2 Ensnaring Bridges. I will keep this hand. Objectively, this hand doesn't really do a lot. But it's resilient to opposing disruption. Now, if my opponent does have, another discard spell or a counter spell for the bridge, then this hand's in rough shape because it's already kind of a mulligan to 6 with double Mox Opal. Taking Ballista is interesting. So I will be able to fetch Island and Mountain with my Scalding Tarns, play around Wasteland. Alright, that's why they don't care about the Ensnaring Bridges, I see. All I have to do is get to 0 cards in hand. And getting to 0 cards in hand will not be difficult since I have triple Mox Opal. My opponent reading Sabo's Web, trying to figure out why is that in their deck? What terrible thing is this going to do to me? Yeah, it says draw a card. I don't think they know that. Web will keep their wastelands from untapping. That's what it's there for. It's not good, but I'm a little light on cards for Delver matchups. My ideal draw would probably just be an artifact land, so I can try to jam the Antiquity Wars. I don't need to try to go, like, hellbent with Ensnaring Bridge immediately. Like, Bitter Blossom is inevitability, but it's not a real clock yet. Drawing a Pyroclasm also undoes a considerable amount of work from a Bitter Blossom. Yep, Mox Opal not active yet, so that's fine. Really just hoping to draw like an artifact land. Like any land is great, but I just need like one more artifact to turn on this Mox Opal and make it so that the soft permission my opponent has doesn't really matter. That matters a little bit. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I really have 6 mana this turn. So I can cast both of these bridges. It's possible that I should have just like cast the first ensnaring bridge, and if they have a counter, just like allow them to counter it and then cast the second. I didn't take a lot of time to think this turn through. I just counted to 6. So they can still attack me with Fairy Rogues for right now. Uh, I'm willing to take 3 damage to actually have Chalice of the Void as a card that matters. So the only thing I need to think about here is whether or not I want to Chalice on 1 or Chalice on 2. The only way that Chalice on 2 matters is if my opponent has like double a Braid. So I think I want to Chalice on 1. think small sequencing error from my opponent. If they were going to like Snapcaster Brainstorm no matter what, I think they do that while they still have a mana up, so that if they find like another like instant speed cantrip or something like that, they can like try to go one deeper. Yes, I will pay 1 for days. Yeah, we have a lot of mana in this deck though, so I'm pretty confident that we're okay. Like my win condition now is just bleed them out with their Bitter Blossom. If I Karn Plus, is there anything I can get stuck in my hand this turn? Yes. So I will just make a construct. It can hang out. Oh yes, Karnstruct. Forgive me. Well, your cards do nothing. And I don't really think I need to use Karn here. It's probably safe too. But I like don't really know what I lose to. Alright, so now it should be 100% safe to just activate that this turn. Because like I still have a land drop and I can cast anything. Alright, let's play in good habits. Keep the good Mox Opal. Cast Trinosphere. It's my card that's in exile. It's a Skull Me turn. Want to wasteland me? I don't mind. I have remembered my trigger. I kind of want to cast a Pyroclasm to just add insult to injury and just kill like 12 creatures. That sounds fun to me. Sabo's Web, doing work over here. Braid the Chalice. I bet you wish you still had lightning bolts. I would respect them if they just Thoughtseize to end this game sooner. Nope. Not going for that line. Hedron Archive, is that the 4-mana colorless tapping thing? Like 4-mana tap for 2 colorless? Or am I thinking of a different Hedron card? There's a lot of them. Alright, and we get there. This is fun and a little bit absurd. I'm digging it. We're 2-0 right now. Varner343, thank you very much for throwing your Twitch Prime money this way this month. I appreciate your support. I hope you're enjoying this content. I'm having a lot of fun this morning. I was a little worried when I initially saw the deck list that this wasn't going to be too competitive, but like the changes I made seem to be pretty good. Like I think we identified like a problem in that like I do need a few more like 2-mana artifacts for when I sub out some of the others. But like maybe we've just played Delver against Delver 2 times in a row where like we're light. So like if I get a little more variety in, I'll be able to tell. And not Delver exactly, but like aggressive creature decks. All right. So I can Aether Grid on turn 1, or I can Antiquity Wars on turn 2. I'll keep this. Look, I didn't know how to finish out the deck list. I didn't know what we needed in the sideboard, so I figured a pair of scissors couldn't hurt. Yeah, I mean, relatively speaking, this is a somewhat budget-friendly deck, right? At least by Legacy standards. Like, the expensive things are probably like Mox Opals and Karns, which if you're playing multiple formats, you probably already have those. And then it's just like Chalices as the other expensive thing. There's one Volk in this deck list, but that could pretty easily not be a Volk and be okay. Bridges are expensive? Alright, that wouldn't surprise me. I thought that got a reprint in something random. Alright, so we're probably playing against Red-Black Reanimator, which is probably actually a fine matchup, honestly. I'm not going to play Aether Grid. I want to play Karn next turn. It's much more aggressive. Alright, so they'll get my Aether Grids here. It's not that big of a deal. We have the Karn Father ready to go. Aether Grid could be nice if they make a Grizzlebrand, though, and I just get to, like, ping them for the last couple of points. Ooh. So here's a real decision point. Do I just Karn or do I Antiquity Wars? How fast will I kill them with Karn? So if I Karn minus, I'm only making a 1/1, so I get to attack for 2 next turn. Antiquity Wars is probably just a faster Goldfish. But Karn could find a hate piece. I guess Antiquity Wars could too. Rob, thank you very much for your continued support. I hope things are going well with you. I'm artifact light either way here. I think Antiquity Wars will let me dig deeper for a hate piece. I'd love to find, like, Trinisphere, Chalice, or Bridge. I'll take the Mox Opal here. It's something that I can cast and just put into play this turn. Increases my artifact count. So we're going to get a probable turn 4 Goldfish. Oh. I thought we were playing against Reanimators. This might just be Storm. Yep. Up, 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 up. Yeah, so my opponent just gets to kill me next turn. That's awesome. Good job, opponent. You know, I guess I'll take the Chalice, but like it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm just dead. Well done. The damage I did to myself off the Ancient Tomb was super relevant. Alright, so we're playing against Phoenix. So ley lines seem sweet. Bridges seem sweet. Pyroclasms can kill Phoenixes. That falls into the category of this is okay. Padim probably okay. My opponent really only needs 1 or 2 mana to go off, so Winter Orb seems weak. Again, Howling Mine seems kind of medium. So does Spyglass. So probably gonna play these. I think I'm gonna need to trim some Aether Grids since I'm lowering my artifact count so much. So I don't love Ballista. I wonder if I should just play Padim instead. And, like, stop anything from removing my various spells. Sorcerous Spyglass is kind of weak. I'm going to ship it like this. Oh no, I really need to play one Aether Grid. Because there's some worlds where I have the Ensnaring Bridge lock, but I can't really kill my opponent because they have a bunch of Phoenixes in play or something. So for game 3, definitely keeping a grid or 2 in. I didn't think that through enough. I'm going to keep this hand because Leyline of the Void is stellar in these sorts of matchups. The rest of my hand is a touch awkward, though. I'm also going to YOLO Sorcerer Spyglass them and see if I can take their only fetch land. I did not succeed. Oh man, they're probably playing the same fetch lands that I am. It's awkward. Alright, what fetches did they play game 1? Any? So they played Badlands in game 1. Eh. My opponent says Stellar Keep over here. I'm going to name Bloodstained Mire. Like, it's a fetch that I don't have that they're somewhat likely running. So my opponent will go Swamp, and they'll probably Cabal Therapy me and name, like, probably the Antiquity Wars. Yeah, so Beta Counterspell, if you want the deck list, click on the set of 3 cards on the left-hand side. Alright, best draw would be Ancient Tomb. That is not Ancient Tomb. So my opponent is lacking in blue mana. Yeah, now I get to take my Trinisphere. My opponent has four uncastable cards over there. Yeah, Polluted Delta was the fetch I wanted to name, but we're playing that, unfortunately. No, I'm fine trading bridge for days, right? Like, I don't actually want the bridge to resolve at this point because I boarded out my grids. So, like, when I'm on 0, I can't really super effectively win well. So I wanted to trade that for a days. Like, I'd much rather gain the opportunity to go and resolve an important 4-drop threat. Oh, hey, look! It's my friends at Cardboard Live gifting subs. Thank you very much. So Cardboard Live is one of my sponsors, if that wasn't clear already. And they're doing awesome work for the Magic community. They're supporting some streamers. They're supporting a pro team that I hear is pretty stellar. And if you're interested in investing in them, that's actually something that's on the table now. You can buy something that's not exactly stock, but is sort of like stock in Cardboard Live. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I can shoot you a link after the stream. An Arclight Phoenix, you say? Deal. So my Trinisphere will now decrease the power of the days on the other side of the battlefield if I actually draw a Haymaker. Alright. Really need like a Pyroclasm, a bridge, some way to win the game now. Karn's kind of medium. How big of an idiot can I make? I can make a 3, 4. I can make a 5/5 idiot. That's not exactly going to race. And my Karn will just die. Awkward. Regardless, I'm going to need to fetch. There is a world where I do just want to plus this Karn and force my opponent to attack it. But I think I'm going to minus. The upside is huge if I find a Pyroclasm. It is also possible that my opponent just goes for my face with both of these. Alright, so I'll be dead to a Phoenix, or I'll be dead to me whiffing a draw. I'm going to need either one of my 3 Pyroclasms, one of my 3 remaining ensnaring bridges. Yep, okay. I'm going to look at the next card or two just to kind of like see if anything would have changed if I had Karn. Oh. We did not have an out anytime soon. That one just was not happening, unfortunately. All right, I'm going to take 30 seconds and run to the restroom. I'll be right back, and then we'll go into round 4. Alright, I'm back. Sorry for the delay there. Hello, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes. Today we're playing a donation deck list that I've done some editing to. We're essentially playing a Ghirapur Ether Grid control deck. Conceptually, it's playing out similarly to sort of like a traditional Antiquity Wars deck, but then we've also got a really cool package of like Howling Mines and Winter Orbs to be sort of broken and used in a one-sided fashion with Aether Grid, since they turn off or work the way you want them to only when you have Aether Grid. Unfortunately, we've been playing against a lot of somewhat aggressive decks where we've been boarding out those cards. Against like the control decks, having those main deck Winter Orbs is going to be really sweet, and so I'd like to play against one so we can kind of see that in action. I've been boarding out the Howling Mines and Aether Grids as is, or sorry, not the Howling Mines, or not the Aether Grids. I've been boarding out the Howling Mines and the Winter Orbs as is against most matchups that I've been seeing so far. But if we play against like more traditional Grixis control, or we play against like Miracles or something like that, or D&T, I'd like to see those in action. It's going well. Kind of excited to be back to my streaming again. I took about a week and a half off for the holidays, and it's good to be back. I'm having a lot of fun playing on the Switch. I got the Binding of Isaac recently, and that game's really fun. It's a weird one though. It's very strange to have an M-rated game on the Switch. Like, for anyone kind of unfamiliar with the basis of the game, you're a kid whose mom is trying to kill you, and so you've retreated into the basement, and you're trying to like go and escape. And the levels are full of like literally poop, and you're like breaking open poop to try to find items and defeating like bosses that are like weird monstrosities that have somehow grown in your basement. So it's a lot of fun. It's sort of a traditional dungeon crawler with sort of a perverse and somewhat religious spin. It's been really fun. Yeah, the game goes pretty deep. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that game. It's also like hard. Oh man, strategic Chamlet. I'm glad you got a Switch. I'm like loving that thing. It's called The Binding of Isaac. So if you enjoy like games with sort of a retro look, Shovel Knight is really fun. It's kind of like Mega Man, except slightly less difficult. So it's not quite like frustrating difficult. It's more like, oh, this is hard but rewarding difficult. Oh, really? That was your first time playing Legacy? Well, awesome. I'm glad you 3-0'd. I would have expected you played more with how much you're watching. Also, that Ninja deck is like picking up a lot of traction. People really enjoy playing that deck. It's showing up in a lot of the 5-0 deck lists. D&T question. Where are you at right now? 2 versus 3 Chalice of the Void in the sideboard. So, Varner, I think it's the sort of thing where you need to figure out what battles you want to fight and then play the number that you can fit into the sideboard. So XJ Cloud, for example, I think is only on 2 chalices. I'm on 3. It just kind of depends on how your in-out numbers are going to work. When I recently did a tutoring session about sideboarding, about halfway through, the person I was tutoring said, like, you know, I think I want a 3rd chalice in the sideboard. So I don't think there's a right or wrong 2 versus 3 chalice. You know, I think you pick one of those numbers and roll with it. I'm gonna keep this hand. Like I've got like Mox Opal and Winter Orb. That's a combo. I'm gonna be playing against something kind of slow. I'm gonna go ahead and play out my Great Furnace this turn to increase the possibility of doing something silly with Mox Opal next turn. And if my opponent wastelands me, like I still have 2 more lands left, so I'm okay with that scenario. Yeah, if you're playing against a lot of control in particular, then it feels super good to have those extra chalices. Like if you're playing out like control and combo. You know, I've never revoked a ninja before. That's not on the list of things I've done. I'm gonna go ahead and take the marginal thinning here. See if my opponent's playing a stifle deck. Nope. And I'm fine with just jamming this now. So I can play another Winter Orb, or I can just try to stick the bridge. I don't really know what my opponent is doing yet, so I don't know what's optimal. What allows me to Karn next turn? I guess that's what matters. So I have 3 mana. Next turn I can just untap and play 4. But if I play an artifact, it also just, like, gives me a mana, effectively. So I think I'll just play another Winter Orb and not jam this bridge into something like a Daze. I also don't necessarily want the bridge to resolve if my plan is just like Karn minus, Karn minus. So it seems like I'm playing against Grixis Control. In which case, I'm not just going to jam my Karn yet. I'm going to keep setting up and force them to answer this. Oh man, yeah, when D&T draws well against Reanimator, it's filthy. If this is just a Jace, that's a little rough. Yeah, immediate Fate Seal mode. That is dangerous. Alright, well, Aether Grid is guaranteed to resolve at this point. Alright, I think I've won the game. Yeah, so I'm going to get to, like, tap my Winter Orbs and untap all of my lands. That's going to feel good. A Gurmag Angler. So I believe the way that the person donated told me that worked was that you could tap this at the end step in order to shut them off. Yep. Ta-da! Combo. So I can make a Karn token, but then Jace can just bounce it. So instead I'll go ahead and just play out Ensnaring Bridge. Opponent can't force. Notably, I have Trinisphere, so now, unless I want to shut off my Trinisphere, I can't actually cast another Winter Orb, but I think that's fine. Ooh, I messed up. I should have left my Great Furnace untapped. Drawing a Mox Opal's a little awkward. I guess I can just start, like, Karn plussing. So right now I have 1, 2... I essentially have three dings up, so I can start doing work on the Jace. Once I kill the Jace, the Karn will win the game. Yeah, so... Ooh. So there's a Chalice of the Void coming down the line. There's also this Polluted Delta, which after my opponent Fate Seals me, I can, like, fetch away the bad card that they leave on top. At any point, I can also just find, like, Sorcerous Spyglass to break this game open as well. And, like, stop having to shoot the Jace. Culligan's command, destroy the bridge. And deal 2 to Karn. That's a slight annoyance. Maybe at some point I'm supposed to just, like, ignore the Jace and just realize that I can just race them. I think that happens if I draw, like, an Antiquity Wars or something. Alright, so they put that on bottom, so I don't need to fetch. Oh, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. No, unfortunately, they have Snapcaster Culligan's command at the ready. Yuck. I mean, I'll still name Jace, make him do it. Oh, right, Winter Orb. Ha! Forgot about that small portion of things. Once I have 10 artifacts, I can just kill Gurmag Angler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 artifacts to go. Yeah, so now I'll just start dinging them. I can ignore the Jace. So I'd love to draw like Antiquity Wars, Karn, Ensnaring Bridge. Well, that's probably pretty good. I can cast this for 3. And then pump it twice. I mean, hell, I can probably just, like, chump block with it this turn to gain 5 life, deal them 3, put them to 9. Shoot them twice, put them to 7. Although if they attack, I can just, like, pump, hit them for 4, crack for 4. So one thing I'm going to need to keep in mind is that they are going to have Snapcaster Mage as an Ambush Viper. I can also just, like, block, shoot Gurmag 3 times, and just kill Gurmag with 2 pings. That might just be my best line, and just, like, leave nothing to chance. Snap does cost 3 mana. That's true. Yeah, so I can just... My opponent's done with me. Alright, so this lock feels really good when it happens. Alright. So I probably want Padim. I probably want Sorcerer Spyglass for Jace. I need to respect Gurmag Angler. So I probably need some Ensnaring Bridges. But I certainly won't board any more in. Ensoul Artifact also is probably fine. Like, one of the only ways I think I lose this is to Jace, right? And Ensoul Artifacting one of my creatures can mean that, like, I effectively have something that's hasty to fight off Jace. So what's bad in this matchup? Like, Winter Orb, Chalice, Spyglass, all that stuff's probably fine. I guess I should trim a little bit of my fast mana. I don't necessarily need to go fast. I'm gonna, like, expect this one to, like, drag on and on and on. So Like, I can probably trim on some of, like, the Lotus Petal Mox Opal type stuff. I could see trimming the Walking Ballista. It's fine. But I'm going to need to, like, make some cuts somewhere. So, like, maybe I cut down on these and these and do something like this. At the same time, though, like, the artifact mana helps me cheat with the Winter Orbs. So maybe I do want Mox Opal, but less Lotus Petal. I could also potentially, like, trim one Howling Mine instead or something. But let's whack the submit button and see how this feels. The sort of cool thing about Scissors, too, is that my opponent is probably boarding out most of their things like Fatal Push. So if I just, like, throw it on a creature, it probably doesn't die. Or, like, throw it on anything, it probably doesn't die. My hand's looking great. Let's start throwing haymakers. Force Pitch Snapcaster. All right. You win this time. I will try again next turn. I am going to need to find another land so that I don't have to just use this Ancient Tomb for everything. Because if I do that, like, the potential of just losing to random Snapcasters is real. Peak? Okay. EE for 0. Sure. So I can play 2 2-mana spells, or I can just jam Karn. So I'm going to cast Sorcerous Spyglass, force my opponent to crack their EE on 0, and then play another Chalice on 1. Look, Sabo's Web has drawn us some cards, and it kept a Wasteland from untapping. It's fine. It's not questionable at all. Man, I haven't seen a Powder Keg in play in a long time. That's a sweet card. So while we're waiting here, I said this earlier, but there's more people here now. So as of tomorrow, I will have been streaming for 1 year. So I'm working on sort of a 1 year looking back, looking forward article. That'll probably go up on the website on Monday or Tuesday. I'm about 3/4 of the way through with it now. It's kind of crazy thinking I've been doing that for this long already. Yeah, I'll probably do some ridiculous celebration stream at the end of the month to commemorate it. Oh man, Uba Mask. That's a sweet card. Cabal Therapy, Ponder, and Thoughtseize. I don't care about those. You know what those are all gonna get hit by? Chalice of the Void. Is this what bullying looks like, chat? Because I feel like this is what bullying looks like. Ooh, Hondo, that is a good idea. Do I just want to make a 3/3 into a 4/4? Or do I just want to plus forever? The worst case scenario is my opponent's top card is Culligan's Command, and if I minus, they like blow up my Chalice. Or no, I guess they won't kill my Karn. Still go down to 3 loyalty. Yeah, I'm fine with just like trying to get aggressive here. If my opponent taps a bunch of mana, I'll just Winter Orb them. Like, I know my opponent has 3 dead cards in hand, so they've got to draw something bomb. Oh, and they just scoop it up. Furish, I've played 2 Legacy challenges. They were fun. I top 8'd one of them. I think I min cashed the other. My issue is that like a lot of times I'm socializing on the weekends, and while I'm fine with committing 3 hours in the morning to doing a stream or something, I can't necessarily commit 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a regular basis to do it. Yeah, I know, socializing. So I don't make playing in the challenges a priority. My hand's okay. I'll keep this. I really need 1 more mana to do super degenerate things. Endless one. All right. Yeah, there is a legacy challenge every Sunday. Yeah, if they started a couple hours earlier in my time zone so that I could give up like my morning and early afternoon to do it and finish up at like 2 or 3, I think that'd be fine. But like making like dinner plans even is just tricky with where the legacy challenges is in my time zone, because like you don't necessarily know how long they're gonna go. Yeah, I can Winter Orb, but I think I'm gonna need my mana, and like I'm not really gonna take them off of all that much. Like the way I see myself winning is my opponent doesn't have a hyper aggressive hand, and I can just like Karn minus and Antiquity Wars. At the same time, if I play this Chalice for 0, it will turn on Metalcraft, and then I get another mana out of the Mox Opal. So maybe I am just supposed to do this. Because I do give myself a chance to Karn next turn if I draw a Soul Land. Alright, screw it. This will prevent, like, the most busted draws of, like, Thought Knot into Reality Smasher. So maybe this will buy me time. So I guess I can play around Wasteland by playing a fetch land. So the way Winter Orb reads is you get to untap one land. So if I have an artifact land, yes, I can untap that. Ratchet Bomb. Oh, God. Well, that takes care of your Endless one. This game's weird. All right. I think I'm going to fetch for marginal thinning here. Yeah, this game is super unique. I can say with authority I haven't played one quite like this one before. Oh, and they don't have like a Thought Knot. Awesome. Awesome. So I don't even, I think, want to cast this. I'd rather just, like, play out a land and then play a 4-drop. Yeah, the unfortunate thing is that, like, my opals aren't going to do anything, right? Like, my opals and lotus petals are countered by the opposing Chalice of the Void. So I have a very small window to actually draw something that matters. I really need to hit a land this turn. If I do, I can play Antiquity Wars and potentially race my opponent. Signet is not quite good enough. I guess it puts me at mana parity while also putting me an artifact ahead, though. So best draw would be Artifact Land. So I can untap one of these, play an Artifact Land, and then create a 5/5 that could trade with Reality Smasher. So Artifact Land is stellar. That feels good. Oh man, Wasteland would be so sad. So sad. Oh man, you just have another Smasher. Don't do it. Don't do it. No! I'm still killing one of those on the way out. Yeah, they could have attacked Karn. Anything could have happened. All right. I want bridges. Yeah, D&T 24. Let me field that in a second. So Trinisphere is bad. Chalice is bad. So I'm gonna kind of sub in a lot of cards. My artifact count is probably gonna be a touch lower than I want it to be. But that's probably okay. I could play Pyroclasms for the smaller Eldrazi. Or I could just play Sabo's Web as a cantripping artifact. The Howling Mines are a little awkward. I don't necessarily want to just keep giving the Eldrazi player gas. I'm going to play Sabo's Web, I think. And then I think my question is, like, which is better, Howling Mine or Pyroclasm? Yeah, so, like, they've got Wasteland, they've got Eye of Ugin, they could have Caracas. It'll probably stop some number of lands. I think since I'm already boarding in Padim, it might be better to play a couple of Pyroclasms to wipe the smaller creatures off the board. Yeah, like, Pyroclasm's not great. But Howling Mine also seems not great. Like, it's really good if I get the Aether Grid online. And maybe Aether Grid is my way to pick off the smaller creatures. Alright, what if when I'm on the play, I play Howling Mine, but on the draw, I play Pyroclasm? Let's do that. To a certain extent, I also just want to keep a high density of artifacts, because like my Ensoul artifacts and Karns and stuff, they matter a lot. Alright, so what am I doing? I'm just playing a turn 2 Signet. But I do have Ensnaring Bridge, which is like crazy in this matchup, and double Karn. I think this hand is medium, but I'm going to keep it. I don't really want to throw back Bridge. Like, it's just such a good card for the matchup. Yeah, so D&T 24, to field your question from before, I'm currently writing an article where I'm going to like talk about the stream and kind of the future of the stream. And one of the things I'm going to cover is that exact topic. And I'm still kind of working through some of my thoughts on them. But like I've definitely realized that I'm not necessarily playing as much D&T as I personally would like to. So that's something that I will be addressing shortly. So if I play Bridge, I'll have 4 cards left, and then this Endless one can't attack. Or shoot, no, I will have 5. So I don't think they have a Thought-Knot Seer, because they would have certainly played it rather than an Endless one. So maybe I should just, like, prep to make the Ancient, or the Ensnaring Bridge good by playing another Signet. Alright. So Wasteland doesn't really matter right now. Endbringer or Ratchet Bomb are both very good. Endbringer is a way to win through Bridge, but Ratchet Bomb can destroy Bridge. I'm going to shut off Ratchet Bomb with the first one. And I'll kind of hope to draw, like, a Winter Orb or something so they can't just, like, immediately Endbringer. Yeah. There's something I was a little bit afraid of. Yeah, unfortunately, like, we're just going to be, like, half a turn too slow here. Yeah, I'm just dead on board, right? I just get, like, Eldrazi Mimic Pact and then Endbringer twice. I shouldn't have even played that bridge. Should have just conceded. Well, rats, we had a really strong start, and then we just ended up 3-2ing this league. But that's okay. All right, so let's kind of go and talk about the deck list here. I think this ended up in a pretty good place. Like, this definitely felt competitive. Biggest sort of takeaways is that when I go and remove a bunch of artifacts from the main deck, I'm lowering my artifact count. So I kind of want to have a few more, like, 2-mana artifacts in the sideboard to sub in when, like, Winter Orb and Howling Mine aren't necessarily good. Even if it's something with just, like, a somewhat marginal effect that happens to draw a card, like, that might be fine. Like, for example, we subbed in Sabo's Web a few times just because it drew a card and it was an artifact. I think I want a couple more Soul Lands in the deck. Just because, like, I am a touch mana hungry. So I probably should play one less fetch land and one more Ancient Tomb. Like, it didn't come up, but it almost came up a few times. Like, I have 8 fetch lands here, but only 4 targets. And that might be a touch light. Yeah, so, like, Phyrexian Revoker in the sideboard, like, that's the sort of thing that's totally reasonable, yeah. I don't know that the deck needs Darksteel Citadel. Like, the fact that it's just an indestructible land is kind of whatever, right? Like, it can contribute to Metalcraft, and that's cool, but if I'm going to play another artifact land, I might just want another colored one, honestly. Like, one more Great Furnace. Yeah, it does work well with Scissors. But I kind of think that the Scissors in the sideboard should just be 2 other random artifacts of some nature, so I have more options to sub things in. Like, something somewhat hateful, like, Phyrexian Revoker was a good suggestion. I wonder if I just have, like, any random artifacts up in here from stuff that I play with D&T that we could sub in. Relic's not a good example. Pithing Needle. Yeah, I don't know exactly what it's supposed to be, but I think a couple more artifacts should definitely be in here. Elsie39, thank you very much for following. I hope you're enjoying today's content. Damping Sphere? Damping Sphere might be fine. I guess a little awkward with Ancient Tomb, but I guess against like the big mana decks, it's good. Against combo and control decks, it's fine. Yeah, if I were gonna like take this deck seriously and play it more, I'd sit down and do a Gatherer search on like a bunch of 2-mana artifacts and see what I could come up with, or just like scroll through old like Red Prison, Soldier Stompy, Stacks, Mud sort of decks and see what sort of things they're playing. Because I'm sure we can port a couple of things from there um, into this shell. But generally speaking, I like what's going on here. The one of Walking Ballista in the main deck feels a little weird. Like everything else is kind of like 4 of super consistent. So like maybe this is supposed to be just some other cheap artifact as well. I don't know exactly. One of the drafts I got of this also had Dak Faden as some like selection and a way to loot through some of this stuff. Like, because when you get multiple Nox Opals, it's very bad. When you're drawing like Petals in the late game, it's not good. Well, Scroll Rack is colorless, right? Or, sorry, Scroll Rack is 1 mana, so it doesn't really work well with our Chalice. If you wanted to play black, sure, Baleful Strix is like the literal perfect sort of card for this deck. But I don't really know that you can afford to take it into a third color like that. Like, maybe it's fine. Like, some of the Tesserator decks do it. But if I played a third color, I certainly couldn't be running any more Ancient Tombs than I am. Is Scroll Rack 2? Oh, maybe I'm thinking of its activation cost. Okay, yeah, but like, if we went into black, I do think that would be a very good card for this shell because it helps against some of the like aggressive creature starts. So it's possible that we could go and cut some of the like basics from this deck and just say like the heck with it. We're just going to expose ourselves to Wasteland and just play 3-color. Yeah, we've already got Winter Orb. And I don't necessarily think I want to go up to a 4th one of those. They're not always good, but they're stellar when they are good. So it's something to think about. But like I do think something like this can be competitive. It's not going to be tier 1, right? Like it's a little too slow and a little too clunky as far as like consistency goes. But like when you get to do what you want, it feels really, really good. Yeah, you always want a bigger screen, right? That's just the way the world works. Sorry, I'm just thinking here. All right, so I don't know that like the other tools that are in the sideboard are necessarily wrong. Like I definitely want the other copies of Bridge. Sabo's Web seems fine. Like it's a very powerful card. If we had hit the right sort of matchups, I think it's powerful. What if we mainboard in Soul? I don't think I want to mainboard in Soul. I think that card's bad in game 1, right? Like where your opponents are playing a bunch of like Swords to Plowshares and stuff of that nature. I don't think we need to go that route. I don't think we're an aggressive deck, right? Like we're a control or prison deck. So I think that as a sideboard option is fine, but this probably gets cut in the next iteration of the deck. Maybe like some ballistas are in the sideboard now. Yeah, so the original version I got was a little too cute, in my opinion, but it had like Dak Faden and then like liquid metal coating, because liquid metal coating could go and turn anything into an artifact, and then you could just like steal it with Dak. and that's kind of cool. And like liquid metal coating can help turn on your Mox Opals or like make your Karn constructs bigger, or like give you one more thing to attack with the Antiquity Wars, I guess. Although not really, because like that taps to do that. But there's definitely other things that you can explore with this. All right, I think that's everything that I have to say on this front. Let me see what our next stream is going to be. I don't have everything like 100% solidified yet. And there's a couple of things that aren't on the schedule here. So it looks like on Monday I'm going to be playing some Eldrazi Post. Then Wednesday we've got Miracles. There's two things that aren't on here. I've got a D&T stream lined up, as well as a Fauna Shaman Toolbox deck lined up. I have to actually get the ticks for those, but I have pending donations for both of those. And I'll kind of work on getting a more proper schedule put together. Grim Monolith. Grim Monolith is a decent suggestion. If I played Grim Monolith, I could actually like play another Ancient Tomb, cut some of these Lotus Petals, and just have like another somewhat permanent mana source. Yeah, Grim Monolith is definitely a card I'd consider for this deck. Yeah, if you want to play something like this in your local metagame, like take this as a starting point, and then take a look at like some mud deck lists and see what things you can pull from there. Yeah, if you go into black, there's a lot of other options. Like Baleful Strix would be an automatic 4 of, for example. More turn 1 Trinispheres. Always. Always, always, always. All right, folks, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it here for today. There's no one streaming Legacy, so I'm going to pick a random small streamer and just host them, and we'll see what they're playing. If you enjoyed the content today, please consider following. I'm playing Legacy about 3 times a week. And if you really enjoy the content, consider doing something to promote my channel or help my channel in some way, whether that's, going and subscribing or doing a donation deck list. Cheers, folks. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend.